Thank you, Tom. Next, we have Graham Smith from the Department of Geography.
And that actually leads me to my first point. When you're going to stand up and speak in front of a big group, it's natural to be a little bit nervous. And how do you deal with that nervousness? Well, one of the first things to do is to do something really stupid. And if you do something really stupid, everybody laughs. At that point, everybody relaxes. Because everybody in the audience would much rather be in the audience than be in the front. Doing something stupid. And that's part of my theory. My theory is to actively engage. You decide to be a good teacher. I have a friend who's a principal, and she gives it the give a shit factor. You are a good teacher because you choose to be. And choosing to be is by choosing to engage the students and emotionally investing in them. We heard a lot about faith. I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith that my students want to learn. I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of belief in them, and I communicate that. And one of the things I attempt to do is create an emotional landscape for learning. Now, be aware that I teach at 8:30 on Monday morning. I have that same class at 8:30 on Tuesday morning. Coming in and deciding on the philosophy of the environment and changing the world 8:30 Monday morning is a little challenging, or can be. I also teach the philosophy and methodology of geography. You may not know that there is one, but there is a philosophy and methodology of geography that is Thursday. No, it's not actually Thursday. It's Friday morning at 9:30. Thursday night's pub night. So I have, how do you get student engagement? Class attendance on Friday is completely optional. Mind you, I have one assignment, they're feedback sheets. I use feedback sheets, I'll go to that in a minute. But one of the things I do is I have the feedback sheets. They have to submit every feedback sheet for the class they've attended on one of the assignments. So yes, class is optional, but if you have no feedback sheets, you've got no assignment. I also have a standing rule. If you walk in with coffee, you're not late. Walk in really late with a coffee for me, and you're definitely not late. And sometimes I walk into class and there are like 2 cups of coffee already laid out. And that's the other thing, coffee. I met someone outside and I was having a coffee and they said, I can't drink coffee. I said, you know, how do you get excited? Drink coffee. Because you know what? I'm like that little 6-year-old boy has to go to the bathroom. You just can't stand still now. It's you're animated, you're going to move. And how else? I am actually a very shy person. And people don't realize this, but to get engagement, sometimes you have to trick yourself. I wear a yellow tie. I'm infamous for my yellow tie. Why? Because if you wear a yellow tie and stand in front of the class, you're not invisible. You can't wear a yellow tie and not have people see who you are. I trick myself into being larger than life by wearing something that says, hey, here I am. And you advertise to the students and you're saying, let's get some engagement. Because I want them, they are very self-conscious. This is them, this is the world. And I need them to realize that in my class, it's all right that the guy in the stupid yellow tie doing all the funny stuff's at the front, and we will laugh at him. Laughter. One of the things that keeps professors from being good teachers is taking yourself way too seriously. Learn to laugh often. I had a colleague who was a great guy. He knew his stuff really well, was very, very funny. And I once said to a group of students how funny this person was, and they looked at me like I was from Mars. Or Venus, whichever the one guys are from. And they said, he never showed that. You have to show that sense of humor. My rule is there are no stupid questions. I don't care what someone says in my class. It's smart. It's good. And I give up on the whole knowing names things because everyone will know. I will go around and I'll know names and I'll instantly confuse them. So routinely, and it gets to be a standing joke in my class where who am I going to continually misassociate names with because I'm not good at that. So I make more of that and I let them know that it's not personal. But how do I get to know names? I use feedback sheets. I don't use the little thing. I actually physically at the end of class get them to write down, put their name on it, their first names because I'm dealing with first names, and I want them to put 3 things they got from today. What 3 things did they learn? And any questions? Because, bless their hearts, there'll always be someone in class who will speak up and I can talk and have some dialogue. But there'll be people who'll be engaged. They're just listening. But they're not prepared to talk. But I'll get them to write those things down. It's creating an atmosphere where it's open, it's free. I free flow a lot. A long time ago, I came to one of these sessions and Tom Haffey was there and he was talking about why lecture. And I thought, why do I lecture? And I stopped lecturing. And so now I just go in and I have a title. I have something we're going to talk about that day. And very often I'm driving into work that day and I decide how we're going to do that today's class. And I go in with an idea and I say, let's talk about this. How? They are going to engage. I engage them in groups. I engage them in discussion. And then I map things. I put stuff up on the board and I build things because that's where I give them the organization. It's not that they're short of information. I give them lots to read. I give them lots that they can work with. What they need to do is make sense of that. And how to make sense of that. We work through it. We work through it as a group and we pass through and I challenge them. I believe everybody is a genius. My job is just to bring that genius out of them. And I tell them that. That's what we work with and how we engage. And I do a lot of it. And again, I don't stand still. I walk around, know when to stand. And there are times when you need to sit. And there are ways to sit. I never sit behind. I have a small class. And in my small class, I sit at the front of the desk and I have my coffee. And see, that's wobbly. See, now if I'd fallen, that would have been really good. On camera. But they're just relaxed. And then I hit them with something. And I hit them with something which is big in terms of the future of the world, how it's changing, or in a concept, an idea, and the stuff that we don't want to talk about. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about politics. Let's talk about sex. How's that relate to geography? We'll get there. You start talking, I'll make it geographic. One of the things to do, I think, is you need to go see other people teach. Long time ago when we first started the big super class and Dr. Mike started with this big class, I thought, I got to go see what it's like. I didn't wait for an invitation. I didn't ask. I just snuck in the class and sat there and thought, that's how to do it. Go see other people teach. There's a program that's organized in terms of teaching squares. Go watch. If you don't do that, come sit in. I have a big class, 350 people in tourism. You want to see how a big class goes? Come sit in. I have a small class, 8:30 Monday, mind you. Bring a coffee. And I have a slightly bigger class. Different sizes, different ways in which you can do that. Sit in and see other people, not to say what are they doing, but to reflect on what you are doing in terms of how to working at it. I use feedback sheets. I use a lot of discussion. I don't lecture so much. I try and get, it's a good class to me is when the students do more talking, but it's hard to argue with a professor. I know more than they do. I've been at this. So what I do, I put them in groups. I put them in little packs, little wolf packs. Okay, now you get together as a little group, decide, now you as a little wolf pack, now you can attack me. And then that side attack. And then we go with that, and it's fun. But you have to be fairly secure, and you have to be fairly secure in what you don't know. And what I don't know, I throw over to them and say, how does that, where are you with that? Well, how do we get that? What you can Google, you don't have to remember. Nothing in my course is memory. Everything is open book. Everything is then, well, how do you understand? What does it mean to you? And I have to build a trust with them that they know at the end of the course, if they don't agree with anything I say, that's okay, as long as they know why. Agree with me, disagree with me, but know why. I didn't use these at all.
Thank you so much, Graham. And thank you all so much. That's so wonderful. When we designed this session, we said we want to give lots of time for questions. So what are the questions that people have for our panel? An individual member or the whole panel? What kind of questions do we have today? I'm just going to run very quickly, trip over every chord I can find on the way. Yes?
I'd like to know more about the feedback sheets that you talked about.
Feedback sheets for me, it literally started because I am so lousy with names. And I thought, here's an idea. If I got them to hand me a sheet at the end of each class that then I read, I give back to them, it's got their name on it. So I'm going to start giving back, and I'll get to know names, and I'll start learning. That was the idea. Hasn't worked. Well, it works for 95% of the time. It's just like there's always one kid in every class who I never get to know. And it becomes a thing. At the beginning of class, I'm handing the feedback sheets, and half the class is watching me to see if I'll get Jane's name right this time. And what's scrolling through. So the feedback sheets are literally, but it's a mechanism by which I've gone through. I know what I thought we were going to get from today's class. What I thought we were going to get from today's class doesn't matter. What matters is what they got. So the feedback sheets tell me what they got from today's class, what their questions are, and set a template for the next class to follow it up. So there's continuity from one section to the next, but it also allows me to see a pattern. Have I got outliers? I've got one person over here with I have groups of clusters of ideas. It allows me to focus on that. It allows me to set out the template for the range of perspective that exists anonymously for the students. Because now when I'm presenting in next class, it's me. I got some ideas, and it could be one idea. Lots of people suggested this. Well, they don't know they were the only one. And it reinforces the idea and it encourages their participation. I want to build their discussion, and gradually they get more vocal within class. So that's the concept behind it.
Excellent, thank you. Another question. Way back there.
Run, Ken, run.
I'm so getting a workout today.
Thank you. I was wondering, I was just wondering, I like the idea of having faith in the students and thinking that every student is a genius and you just have to bring that out. But I'm wondering what happens when you have to give feedback and you have to tell certain students that they're not geniuses or that it hasn't come out. I find it especially hard because even if especially if they've tried, you have to say, well, you know, the value of this is 60% or something like that. It's hard, I think, after that to keep them engaged and encouraged, and I was just wondering what you think.
So assessment of learning, assessment for learning, assessment as learning. So my assessment then becomes not what they did wrong, but how they, given their voice, how their voice can be expressed better so that I can hear it better. So I should be able to, with my capability and experience, I have a PhD, they don't. It's my area, it's not theirs. I should be able to take anything they do in the context of the course, in the manner they've taken and said, okay, if that's what you were trying to do, here's how it could be improved. I don't tell them what's wrong with what they've done. I tell them, if you want to do that, how would you make it better? And I work interactively, and other times I ask them questions. So you're telling me you're saying that, but I don't see it. That's very ready to you because you wrote it. How do you make that apparent to me? And if I take a PowerPoint and they're saying, well, I said that. I said, okay. So what's the most important thing about when you went to Paris? Oh, I just love the art. Okay, so why don't we change the title from Paris to Artful Paris? Are you now communicating that? And you work with them like that. And so if you can show them their work with your edit improved, but what you're doing is fostering and encouraging. It is challenging, I will confess, with the entitlement students who know they're a 95. And why didn't I get 100? Now those are interesting ones. Because you're 20. And what you do now is your dream vacation is not going to be your dream vacation when you're 50, so you can't get 100. And so, but generally, that's not your problem. The problem is the kids who've never been encouraged enough.
Would anybody else on the panel like to address that